you doing touching me? I am stood on. I stayed on public.
Stop there, please.
Am I detained?
Okay. These officers, this security from the embassy.
Yeah, I'm still in public.
This guy has been observed filming the embassy.
Yeah.
And so we need to consider a search of him of the terrorism act to make sure.
You do this, you know what's going on. So it's not a good idea. Could you identify yourself, please?
You can see my name here, Superintendent Corbyn.
Okay.
We've had a complaint from the Canadian embassy that you've been filmed photographing people coming in and out of the embassy.
I'm allowed to film in a public place.
The coronation is taking place tomorrow, and this is a particularly sensitive process.
I'm allowed to film in a public place.
Sorry?
I'm allowed to film in a public place.
But you're not allowed to gather evidence or material that might be used to support terrorism planning. Do you understand that?
Well, do you have reasonable suspicion that I'm a terrorist?
Well, because these people have observed you...
Do you have reasonable suspicion that I'm a terrorist?
These people have observed you filming people going in and out to the main entrance to the Canadian embassy. And there's lots of sensitive people moving around the city at the moment. There's a heightened level of security and a heightened threat in the city. And when we see people filming around diplomatic premises, that gives us cause for concern. Do you understand that?
It could be concerned, but there's no reasonable grounds to suspect that I am a terrorist.
Okay.
The moment the superintendent and his team physically intervened without first clearly explaining the reason for the stop, the interaction immediately became more confrontational. A key issue raised during the exchange is that no clear answer appears to have been given at the outset to the basic question of whether TGA was being detained and under what authority. From TGA's perspective, the officers moved directly into enforcement and search procedures without first establishing the facts through normal questioning or clearly outlining the legal basis for their actions. That creates concern about whether the interaction followed the standards normally expected during stop-and-search encounters. When reasonable suspicion is later discussed, the justification appears to rely heavily on reports from private security about his presence and filming in a public area. However, being on a public pavement and recording in public, by themselves, are not criminal offences.
There's reasonable grounds you might be gathering information that might be used to plan a terrorist attack.
What reasonable grounds have you got?
Well, as I just explained to you, you've been observed by security at the embassy.
That's not reasonable grounds.
Filming people.
Somebody filming in a public place is not reasonable grounds to suspect someone's a terrorist.
Okay. Sarge, you got the information here?
Yeah, that's understood, yeah. Do you understand?
Yeah, so
we've got sufficient grounds. It's not just filming in a public place. It's almost it appears to them to be targeted.
It might appear to them, but that's not reasonable suspicion to be somebody who's a terrorist.
Grounds, yeah?
No, it's not reasonable grounds. That's all.
To search you, okay?
No,
so you're now detained for the purposes of a search.
Right, we're looking for things in relation to gathering evidence.
Oh, this is an unlawful search.
This is a lawful search under the Terrorism Act. My name is, PC Ashton, 3939 Alpha Whiskey. You are entitled to a copy of the search.
Have you not read the guidelines from the NPCC?
So basically, you're entitled to a copy of the search after it's complete. Frank, you call you myself for a search.
No.
What stands out in this interaction is the tension between public filming rights and the officer's response to them. TGA repeatedly points out that photography and filming in public places are generally lawful activities, and that principle is widely recognised in UK policing guidance. Rather than immediately addressing that point, the superintendent pauses to consult with a sergeant, which gives the impression that the officers are trying to determine what authority, if any, applies in the situation. The concern raised by critics of the encounter is that the discussion appears focused more on justifying the stop after the fact than on clearly identifying lawful grounds from the beginning. Another issue raised is the use of body-worn cameras. Many police policies and national guidelines encourage officers to inform members of the public when recording is taking place unless there is a clear operational reason not to. The complaint here is not simply that recording occurred, but that transparency appears uneven when officers record openly while resisting questions about procedure and policy themselves.
Tourist site. This is not an iconic site. It's not something that's on the tourist itinerary. It's a sensitive building, it's diplomatic premises. There's no reasonable excuse for you to be filming the premises because it's a diplomatic premises. It's not something tourists would normally do, which is why we have heightened suspicion around your activity, as my colleagues have explained.
Might not be something that you find interesting, that you would go and take photographs of,
but people planning a terrorist attack would find it interesting, and to film the entrances and secure security arrangements around it.
As I've said,
why you're being searched.
Do you reasonably suspect that I am a terrorist?
No, we are searching you for any items that might be used for the commission of planning a terrorism act. Do you understand that? You're not being arrested for an offence at the moment, we've been searched.
Which section of the terrorism act have you used? Which section?
You're more than welcome to look it up afterwards.
No, that's not how it works. It needs to be a section.
Terrorism Act, we're allowed to search you in relation to gathering evidence. Sorry, if you just stay calm, we're allowed to search it. It's all because we're looking for things in relation to this, yeah?
So you're just searching me without a section, are you?
No, trust me.
Oh.
The interaction becomes more contentious when the discussion shifts toward terrorism-related concerns without a clearly defined factual basis being articulated. TGA's criticism is that filming a building or behaving in an unusual way does not, on its own, establish reasonable suspicion of terrorism or criminal intent. The key issue raised during the exchange is the apparent contradiction between suggesting that terrorism concerns might exist while also struggling to clearly explain what specific behavior actually supports that suspicion. In law, reasonable suspicion is generally expected to rest on objective facts and identifiable circumstances, not simply on behavior that appears unusual or difficult to understand. The encounter also raises concerns about procedure. Under stop-and-search rules and pace-related guidance, officers are normally expected to explain the legal power being used and the grounds for the search before carrying it out, except in limited circumstances. When an officer tells someone to look up the law yourself instead of clearly explaining those grounds, it naturally raises questions about whether the legal basis for the stop has been communicated properly.
You're going to be in trouble searching me without a section?
You're more than welcome to make a complaint.
I will be.
You can honestly look at the act afterwards if you want.
No, that's not how it works.
Just take your mask off, please.
No, I'm keeping it on.
I need to see under the mask.
You don't need to see under it.
I do, because what if you had something in there that could hurt me or you?
Right.
It's all for people's safety. I hope you understand we're doing this for people's safety.
No, I don't.
Then welcome to read all about the Terrorism Act, and you'll see. Nothing else
You haven't even given me a
on him.
It's all good in there.
Yeah.
You won't be getting any details from me, Sergeant. I'm not required to give any details. I haven't broken the law.
Required to give details.
No, I'm not giving details.
But you know, like, it's one of the things under PACE, Code G, there is if we don't have name or identification, we can arrest you.
Arrest me for what?
And then we just get for not giving name or an address.
I'm not required to.
No, you are under PACE
I'm not
Code G.
required to.
Okay.
You might want to look
take your
that
hands off. Just keep your hands where I can see them, please. Honestly, just can I have your name, please, mate?
No.
Why not?
Are you actually going to arrest me?
I didn't say so. Well, why? But you know, under PACE
I'm not
Code G.
required to. I have my right to privacy. I don't need to give you my details.
When the officer suggested filing a complaint, it came across less like neutral guidance and more like an attempt to deflect accountability into a later process handled elsewhere. From TGA's perspective, the interaction raised concerns about whether proper procedure was being followed in real time. The request to remove the face covering was also heavily disputed. Critics argue that treating a mask or face covering as inherently suspicious can be an overreach unless clearly linked to specific legal grounds or identifiable risk factors, rather than being used as a general justification for further control of the situation. There was also disagreement over what was said regarding refusal to provide personal details. TGA interpreted the officer's comments as suggesting arrest would follow non-compliance, while the officer's position appeared to be tied to obtaining information for the report. These points form part of a wider debate about proportionality, transparency, and how police powers are explained and applied during fast-moving public encounters.
So you're wrong.
Why would you not want
you might want to check that because you're wrong there.
Why would you not want to give us
Because
your
I'm not
details?
required to give you my
No,
details.
but regardless of what, like, why do you not want to though? Realistically, you've been stopped
Because I'm
by
a
police.
private person, I'm not required to give you my details.
But if you're a private person, why do you think it's okay to go around filming everyone?
Because I want to. I have a right to do
He's
so.
not giving name and details.
It's just, it doesn't have to.
There we go. See?
It's within his right to.
Thank you, Sergeant. Could you remind your colleague, because he said he could arrest me if he didn't get my name and address. Yes, you
I
did.
said
It's on
one of the
camera.
things on
It's
PACE
camera.
Code G is if there's no name and identification, that's something that we can look to use later down the line.
Yeah, if there's usually cause like social behaviour or anything. But at this stage, I'm happy that there's nothing.
Am I okay to take? Am I still detained? Am I okay to take my property
No, you're
back?
not detained anymore. Thank you.
Okay.
I hope you.
Okay, thank you very much.
No worries. Take care.
The screenshot indicates that the Gwent auditor reports receiving a payout in relation to this incident. From his perspective, this is presented as evidence that the police handling of the situation was not appropriately justified and ultimately led to a settlement. However, a payout or settlement does not necessarily establish a formal court ruling or explicit finding of illegality. It generally reflects a resolution reached outside of court, often without admission of liability and the final stages of the encounter. The dynamic shifts again as a junior officer continues requesting personal details. before a sergeant intervenes and the approach changes. The contrast between the earlier insistence on obtaining information and the later withdrawal of that demand raises questions about consistency in how the situation was being assessed in real time. What this sequence highlights, at minimum, is a breakdown in clarity around the legal basis for the requests being made and how quickly those positions changed once supervisory input was introduced.